Oh my goodness. You guys know that there are quite a few people that I have met from the future. I love the future because it is such an eclectic group of not just creatives. And I get to meet cool people like Andres. Andres is one of my favorite babies. Oh, y'all, he's not technically a brand baby, but he's still one of my babies. And so I get to talk to him today about community and branding and all the things he gets to experience as part of the future um, coordinator. We'll find out the title in a minute. So stay tuned and let's get to it.
Hey, brand babies. This is Brandma's podcast, where we go in on personal branding without taking shit personally. Brandma's house is hosted by none other than the ghetto country grandmother. She's here to share her experience, expertise, and education in a way that takes you from brand baby to brand leader. So come on in and hold on to your bourbon because Brandma's about to spill the tea.
Hey, brand baby. So today I get to talk to my baby Andres. I have known Andres now going on, I think I'm in my third year as a Future Pro member, and he is the community manager. That's the title I couldn't think of, but he is the community manager over there. And believe it or not, he's one of the big reasons why I stay. If I don't stay in the pro group, I'm scared I might not get to see my Andres, and I don't know if I like that too well. But it's just a selfish thing. There is still so much value that comes from the pro group, but it's the people that hold the most value for me. And so I get to talk to Andres today because he's around creatives all day, every day as part of his vocation. He experiences branding from the outside looking in. And whether it's business branding or personal branding, in the last 3 years, I know he's seen a lot. And so I wanted to talk to him today about that and get his take on it. But in the meantime, y'all know I'm gonna let him introduce himself because I cannot tell all the great things. And people are usually shy about talking about themselves, but I at least want them to get one good thing out. So Andres, tell us something about yourself that we don't know and that you want us to know and all that good thing.
Yes, thank you for the intro. And one thing that you may not know about me, I think the one thing you may not know about me is that coming on to things like this, I am absolutely scared out of my mind coming into something like this. So like the 5 minutes leading up to entering this room, like, oh my goodness, am I gonna, all the wrong things are gonna happen. That goes in my head. But then when I step into the arena, as they would say, then everything starts to fall into place. And so
Yeah.
that's something. I'm very, I don't know how to call this, Phyllis, like a timid person.
Uh-huh.
If you knew me in real life, but on the internet or on Zoom, I think people tell me I'm more composed and calm, but sometimes that's
Really?
not the case. Yeah.
Really? Oh my goodness, I would never think that. But people have perceptions about me too, as like just seeing me on in producing content and so forth. They think they know me, and it's like, sweetie, trust me, this is not me all the time. This is just a very small portion of me. And I know you and we've talked outside of the future quite a few times. And you're such a talented person. Y'all, he's a graphic designer, even though, like, I know on his IG, he will share some of his graphic design stuff. But he's a graphic designer, he's a musician, and he should fucking make journals. This dude, you know what, we'll get into it. But so I'm gonna back it up a bit. But Andres, as far as being part of Future Pro and all the people that you encounter, what have you yourself learned about branding and creativity and all the other aspects of what it entails?
So this is a great question, and I wonder if we can go into one of the topics. So
Yeah,
either
knock
branding
yourself
or
out.
creativity.
Okay.
So with creativity, I love this topic so much, and and one of the things that I really like to do is to journal. And I think journaling is one of the best things you could do to keep your creativity up. So, and this can be in many different ways. So, if you're a writer, it's just to write some of those random thoughts or being proactive when you have those moments of wild, spontaneous inspiration to be able to document those ideas. So,
Mhm.
for an example, I can reach it. So, for an example, I have this little book and it's the size of your wallet. And so what I'll do, and I can't fit into this sweater, unfortunately, but typically I have a sweater that will be able to fit this little thing in. And so when something inspires me or I'm out shopping, I'm that weird person that pulls out the notebook and starts to write ideas down. So this one's relatively new. I could dig through my archives to show some of the ones that I have filled out completely. Actually, I'm almost done another one. Yeah, so even here for an example, I'm just gonna show. I don't know if you'll be able to see
Yeah, I can
this.
see it.
The light can catch it. So I
Yes.
had an idea of a planner hygiene. So for an example, what that really means is to look at the planners that I have and see if I can strip anything away to make it even more essential, make it more distilled. And so those are the types of things I'm like, I was thinking the one day, I don't know what I was doing. And this is why I write stuff down because I forget very easily. And I'm like, okay, there's something here. Planner and hygiene. And I started thinking about, you know what? I need to write that down. And then that's what I did. So put it there. Yeah.
So what is
Okay, so
what?
that's oh
No, go ahead, sweetie. Go
yeah.
ahead. Finish your statement.
Oh, what I was gonna say is like, where do we wanna go from there?
No, I mean,
That's what the
so, but you're a part of such a creative community. How is it being on the outside looking in versus being one of the creatives that pay for the community, but you're one of the creatives that manages community? How is that different for you?
Oh, that's a great question. So I started out like anybody else that joined the Future Pro is that I came in as a member
Mhm.
and I started my journey just like you, was seeking some answers specifically for how to run a business, learn about business, and become a leader. So at the time, I was working in corporate. And it was
Mhm.
really interesting because it was my first job and I really want to show and elevate the value it can bring to the workplace. So what I ended up doing is like taking things that I've learned from the future and then start to apply some of it right away or sharing that knowledge. So for an example, I would create like an Education Wednesday type of format where I would compile some of the things that I've learned and then I would share it at a lunch and learn for everyone to learn. And so many people thought that that was awesome. And I did too. So the thing is, I didn't realize how the everything functioned with the pro group. And then the one day, uh, I don't know if I can name them, so I'll keep them anonymous. Had approached me and saw that I was applying the knowledge, I was applying some of the things and sharing some of the knowledge. So for an example, Phyllis talked about how much I like journaling. The other thing that I really love doing is note taking. I love taking things that people are saying and distill them and make them even more condensed. So that way I can, if I ever want to flip back to it, I can do that and trying to jog the memory. So that's what I was doing and I was sharing it. And then one of the future members from the
Yeah, you
actual
can
team,
name him. It doesn't
uh,
bother me if it doesn't, if you don't think it'll bother them.
that's the thing. I don't know if it will bother them. So I'm not 100% sure. So they approached me, right? And they're like, "Hey, we love what you're doing, and I don't know what your plans are for your career in the future, but I think you should apply for this position that's about to be posted for community manager at the future, and I think you'd be an excellent fit." And that was like the best compliment ever because
Wow.
I was applying everything and the future, Chris Do, Ben Burns, Stephanie Owens, all those people I really looked up to. And so I was like, okay, this is an opportunity here. So I had to make the tough decision to say bye to the people that I had made really good friendships with at the other company and then jump the ship to this environment. And then that's when I started to learn more about the creative talent that all these people have inside the future, yourself included, Phyllis, even though I don't think you consider yourself creative, but I know that you have a creative mind as well. And I can tell. Um,
Mhm.
so to hopefully that answers your question. And if I didn't answer the question, please help me out here.
Sweetheart, you are fine. You are fine. And um, a lot of times when we're trying to talk about stuff that we love, I know me, I get excited and I jump from one thought to another in my head before I even finish the last thought. And it's like, it just finished the sentence. The thing, like I said, us talking outside of the future and all the different things I've experienced with you. Y'all, I did a carousel once and dude went out and put it to music. It was fucking amazing. And he has so many talents that are untapped. Now, because you took the job at the Future, how did that change your outlook as far as becoming an entrepreneur? Did you decide that, you know what, you're going to put it on the back burner? Do you think you'll ever go back to it? Or, you know what, it's just going to let it happen the way it happens, how it unfolds?
That's I love this question because I found that a lot of the people that work at the Future are also entrepreneurs too. So, for an example, El Money, who was one of the people that I was working with at the beginning, was building a
Yeah.
business outside of the Future, and it's something that even Phyllis had encouraged me a long time ago too. When we started talking, it's like, hey, you gotta uh, share this value with people and get paid for it. And I'm like, you're so right, Phyllis. I really should. And so then what I've been doing is in the outside of the futures, I would consider myself like in a seed round. So I'm trying to build a I wouldn't say like a lump sum of money, but an amount of money where I can, once I have enough, I will start to market it a little bit more. And also at the same time, figure out where I really want to niche,
I know, I
however
never
you want
figure
to
it.
pronounce
Whichever
it.
one falls out of my mouth, that's the one I choose that day. So,
Exactly, yeah. And just because Phyllis knows this about me, I have so many different ideas and so many things I would love to dabble in. So, for an example, it would be my dream to have and be able to sell like journals. So writers, illustrators can use, specifically the people that like to have uh, to use markers and fountain pens and like uh, tools that will bleed into the pages.
mhm,
So, for an example, so if I could ever do this, and I don't know, see, this
mm,
is like one of those ideas where I have to do more investigation with, but I get these journals from the dollar store,
uh-huh.
and then I customize the cover just because I don't want it to look like
You got it from the
stock.
dollar store? Okay.
And that too, and that too. And then so what I do is I go through each of the pages and I will glue the pages together. So that way when I go and write, it
Uh-huh.
doesn't show the bleed on the other side because I like to see both of the pages.
Yeah.
So if I could ever come up with a marketing plan and a launch plan, this is something I would want to deliver because I'm sure there's people out there that also get frustrated when their pages are getting bled into from the
Yeah.
markers
Now
and pens
this
and
this
stuff like
this might
that.
turn a little bit into a coaching call, y'all, because I'm about to get in Andrew. I'm about to get in Andrew's business. Baby, why won't you just do it? Like I said, I'm looking through this books, and even though you're not showing me every page, you are so fucking talented as far as an artist is concerned. And you have all these ideas behind journaling. Why do you I don't know. It's almost like you're stuck in analysis paralysis. And I know people need runways and so forth to go and start businesses. People want to have a certain amount of money, but it's not like you're going to quit your job in order to start your business. So, what do you think is like? Why is Andrea still doing this thing and still thinking about it when you already know you have the fucking talent to do it? Why is that a thing for you?
That's such a good question. And yes, this is turning into a bit of a coaching call. So I would love to prime anybody out there. If you do think like me, if how I'm thinking resonates with you, I'm hopefully this little segment here will help you out. So for me, it's yeah, a little bit of a analysis paralysis. The other thing too is a year or 2 years ago, I had done a test run on
Mm-hmm.
this on my Instagram and I didn't get a good response from it. And I had done a prototype because that's how I generally work, Phyllis. If I'll produce like a little prototype
Mm-hmm.
and then see what kind of uh reaction I get from somebody. And if the reaction isn't like extremely positive, then I will start to dwindle it down. So that's what ended up happening to me. So I had launched two prototypes, a physical little booklet journal and then a digital one as well. And those two did not get a
How
lot of
many times
response
did
from
you
it.
put it out there?
I think I dedicated about a week or so, and I
Oh my
dedicated some
God,
time for my lives.
seriously?
Yeah, yeah.
Sweetie, the thing about it is that, and I think you did, I think you did what a lot of people do. It's like, I'm gonna put it out there and see what happens. But you put it out there once, and because the audience that you've already built is not looking for this. So when you're talking about launching something new, you have to build up the tolerance of the audience. It's like, okay, if you constantly talked about journaling and art, people will know you for those two things. And so it's like, okay, when Andres comes out with a journal, oh shit, he's been talking about journaling forever and a day. So it's not a surprise that he would do this. And this is one of the things that when people say you can't scale a personal brand, why I disagree. Because if you give your personal brand a name and then you scale from that, it's like, okay, if you're Andres, and I know Andres, he loves the undead shit. So the being that undead vibe, it's like, how do you give life to words and art? You do it through a journal. That's what you do. And so if you constantly try and find a way to pick around that and always make that a thing, it's like, you know what, I'm breaking out my journal today. And I'm doing my journal today. And it's like, you know what, you guys, I'm designing a journal. And this is like consistently your language for about 6 months or so. When that journal actually drops, we're here for it. But you can't just put it out one week and say, you know what do you guys think about this? Because nobody's really going to respond, because it's like, I don't think shit about it because I don't care. Because they don't care yet. And that's why it's so hard, I think, for people to understand the ramifications of relying on a one and done. When you talk about launching something, when you put something out there, even when you're marketing something as you're known, if you're a known person, when you're launching something, you have to market it at least 30 days. And some people, they wait until it's like, oh, it's all complete, I'm ready to drop it now, and they drop it and it hits with a thud. Instead of building up to it, it's like, you know what, this is what this page will look like, this is what the cover will look like. When you're taking people on the journey of the build out of whatever it is you're going to launch, then when you launch it, it's like they're anticipating it. But when you just decide, like, here it is, what do you guys think? I don't think shit. It's like, oh, that's nice. And you keep moving. One of the things I talk about when I talk about expanding on a personal brand, like I said, giving mine a name, my being the ghetto country grandmother is what brought about Brandma's house. It was not the other way around. But then expanding on the personal brand of the ghetto country grandmother, one of the things that when people are always talking about being multi-hyphenated, they don't know how to use that. And so they have all these multiple businesses, and that would make me crazy. But one of the things I can do as a ghetto country grandmother, how I can expand my brand, is through licensing. So I smoke bourbon and I drink cigars. So because I can easily tap into those audiences, now I can expand my brand that way, and I can go out and have my own labeled cigars, and I can go put my name. Somebody need to come licensing me out to do Brandma's bourbon. And so now there's licensing aspect. It's not always about putting out another product, but you have to know how to work the game. And I didn't mean to say all that, because we're supposed to be talking about Andres and community building and creators. Did I say too much, sweetie? And you don't have to turn off your mic. And this is not that kind of thing. This is not a um
Oh yeah,
yeah,
no worries,
coaching call.
Phyllis.
Yeah.
No worries. Like I'm saying, if there's somebody out there that maybe this will benefit from, I'm
Mhm.
totally okay with, because, like you were saying, like being in the pro group, and being a facilitator, community manager for a lot of these entrepreneurs, I have learned a lot of entrepreneur frameworks and all these types of skills that I don't even apply for myself, but I love applying it to help other entrepreneurs within the community, and
Mhm.
even getting some mentorship from Chris Stowe's, like, hey, uh, don't jump into trying to give answers all the time, because
Yeah.
that's what I used to do. And so I guess we can kind of switch into community building. And so what Chris had guided me to do is, he said to me, he's like, empower people by asking more thoughtful questions. Don't just give answers. And I'm like, dude, man, that's always surprising me anytime we talk, because I thought that I was doing a service to give so many answers to these people's questions or problems. As you can imagine, for me, I get a lot of DMs every day,
Yeah.
emails on circles. Sometimes people even ask outside of those two platforms, which I'm totally surprised by. And but it's also good, because then it helps me, like, like stay active in certain platforms like Instagram
Hmm.
or even LinkedIn. LinkedIn's one a little bit more of a favorable one for me. But anyways, that's what I would quickly say to that um, about community management.
Now, let
So
me ask you a hard question. And I don't mean to cut you off, but a hard question. Andrew, do you
yeah.
even want to be an entrepreneur or do you want to just have a job?
Oh, that's such a good question because see, this is I feel like you're I'm talking to my therapist now, everyone, because it's going to split into two answers. I
Okay.
love being able to be guided by some of the people that I work with, like Stephanie Owens, Ben Burns, and Christo, and even some of the people that everyone doesn't else get to see, like Carrie Green and even Elise, how they manage what they do too, and I get inspired by some of these things. And so I love that they have built a team like the way that they have right now. So in a way, I love being in that environment, but being an entrepreneur can be very lonely at times because I've seen it and I've heard people that are in similar positions as me and they're trying to get to that next level. And I always find that no, I wouldn't say like heartbreaking. That's too of an exaggeration. But what I'm trying to say, it saddens my heart a little bit to hear some of their struggles. If they had just the enough courage to hire one person, or in some cases where this is really cool, like how I know a lot about the pro members. I know one pro member had hired their retired mom to help with some of the operations. And I'm like,
Mhm.
if you could just get one person on your team, that's gonna help you exponentially.
Yeah.
I guarantee that. It's just for me, I'm gonna say this, it's a fact. If you get
Yeah.
one person, if you hire one person, your business is going to start thriving, because some of those things are on operations or administrative. You can just delegate, and then you work on the high level thinking of some of the stuff. And then later on, you hire that next person to help with more for your delegations, whatever you need to take off your
Yeah.
plate.
Yeah.
So that's my long-winded answer to your questions.
You
That
didn't
it's
answer
split
my
into two.
question.
Okay,
I
so
want to
here it
know.
is. Here it is.
Okay. Okay. Tell me the answer.
Okay, so it's split into two. I love being part of a team, but also it's been a childhood dream of mine to own a small business, for sure.
Okay. But do you think it's in the creative realm that you want to own a small business? Or could
Uh,
it possibly be something else? Is it a business that you can buy that's already existing? What do you?
oh, that's an interesting question. So if I were to buy an already existing business, it would definitely be something with journaling for sure, just
Mhm.
because I love it so much. And I know that there's people out there that still value writing ideas down on pen and paper. And if it's the higher quality, because like going to the dollar store to buy some of these stuff is not the best experience, but because it's just so like the price is there. Like you just go to dollar store, it's like what, $3, even though dollar stores nowadays aren't
A
dollar stores.
dollar. Yeah.
Right? I know it's so ridiculous. But then you go to like I don't know if you guys have this in the States, so like a Michael's or like a
Yes.
craft store. I don't know what they call it.
Yes.
Oh, so you do have
Michael's.
Michael's?
Michael's and
Yeah.
Joann's. Yes.
Even those, even their name brands, like the in-house name brands, aren't the greatest quality either. So I see
Hmm.
like there's a bit of a gap.
Yeah.
So if I were to buy an existing business, it would definitely be in the
Stationary.
journaling, in stationery. Yeah, I even joked about this because you just reminded me of this. I talked to my future wife. We're gonna get married soon, so that's why I say future wife. Not saying that they're from the future. Uh, is that I love
You did not
stationary
have to
things.
clarify. I understand.
Whoops. My headphones unplugged and I moved so fast. So for an example, like these, like if I could make this a bit of a better experience for people that want to have more stationary items to organize their desk, that's something I would love to get into. And I love woodworking too. Although I'm not this advanced, I know how simple it might be. I'm not that advanced to build something like this. But it's like little things like that. See, I'll show you one quick thing that
Okay.
I think about all the time, is like this kind of stuff, is
Okay.
that I have um, this little tray, and this little tray has my go-to items, and I can't show it to you because it would all
Without that,
fall.
without slots. What is the in the circle? What's that thing in the circle?
Okay, so this is a bit of a splurge, but this is an iris, and it
Okay.
helps create circles.
Okay.
So what I would use this is when I'm practicing logo design.
Okay.
I like to proportion things in a very nice way. So by using circles, I can help proportion themselves in a nice way. I wish I could show you an example. My notebook's way over there with
Yeah.
logo
What's that
designs.
other piece that was in it?
So this is really cool. So let me just put this down for a quick second. So this little tool that's in the middle,
Yes.
it helps you put the exact center point on your piece of paper.
Wow.
So right there. So if you wanted to line it up, you can do that. And then it also functions as a stand.
Shut up. Okay. Just I'm always thinking up a business for you because I think you have the talent and the ability to, even if you don't own your own thing, I still think you have the ability to brand. And what I'm finding is that people think because you have a brand that you have to have a business. You do not. Because if you build a brand, say on YouTube, it doesn't say that you have to ever sell anything. So if you build
Yeah.
this brand and this persona, or even if it grows into a business, it all started in you just doing what you love. And you now what I'm seeing, you showing people how to journal, how to personalize their journaling experience and just making videos like that. Because
Oh yeah.
I follow Matthew Cena in Cena every
Hmm.
blue moon, or I watch his stuff, and it all comes from how he organized his office. But you are constantly
Yeah.
picking ways to, like, how can I personalize a journal? What am I thinking about today? About so if you just created YouTubes on, so people don't have to go out and buy all of these stickers and post-its and stuff to put in a book. You have learned how to personalize your shit just on your own terms. And so just to be able to create content around that, maybe at some point you will have your own journal series that you sell. But if you just created, like, you know what, today we're going to personalize this. I picked this up at the dollar store and this is how we're going to personalize this. And giving people ways to get back to enjoying the journaling experience, sweetie, you can build a brand around that. And
Yeah.
you don't necessarily have to have a store or a business or any of that other stuff. And as you build your audience, YouTube's going to end up paying you anyway. So you just get to do what
Yeah.
you love. Okay, we're going to personalize our journaling space today. We're going to have this little box, and this is how you do it. Because I'm sure you can take that exact same box and do some artwork on it. And so you're creating this thing of how can creatives create their own journaling space to make sure that they're being creative in multiple ways. So they get to
Wow.
tap into all those hyphens of, I like woodworking, I like drawing, and you personalize that whole experience. Am I
Yes.
making you crazy?
No, 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 no. This is something that I've also thought about as well. Remember how I was telling you about the bit of a tester that I did with the physical journal and the digital journal.
Mm-hmm.
So while I was doing that, I was also researching what other people are doing in that space too. And you're exactly right. There's actually YouTube channels that are just dedicated for stationery. Like there's this one YouTube channel. You got me so excited. There's this one YouTube channel. I wish I could remember the name. Starts with a B. Um, and all they do is review stationary items like mechanical pencils, types of erasers, and types of erasers that come from different parts of the world, like Japan. And so they also sometimes even go to different parts of the world or even in their own city and show like these are the stationary items I would get. So you're like right on track with some of the things that other people are doing already. And I don't think they actually sell anything. If anything, they do more like affiliate marketing. So they'll show like the links of all
Mm-hmm.
the items that they have reviewed in the
Mm-hmm.
description. So if you wanted to buy those things, you just click the link and then you
And they
also
get
made some
paid.
money. Yeah, exactly. So you're right on the ball.
But you have such a heart for all of this. And then, like I said, if you look at it, like I say, from a branding perspective, especially when people talk about personal branding, I believe that anyone who wants to do something to be seen should have a personal brand, but I don't think everyone needs a personal brand, if that makes sense. And it's like with the people and I want you to think, looking at the pro group, all the people that have come through. Now you tell me, am I wrong? Do all of them need a personal brand, or do they just need to take action on some shit?
I would say so, yeah. Yeah. There's people that don't need a personal brand and they can continue doing what they're doing currently and they'll be just fine. There's
Mm-hmm.
lots of people I know, like I won't name anybody just because I don't know how sensitive this stuff can be,
Yeah.
is that I know somebody, I can actually picture them in my mind that they're a type of person that has like a very good, nice setup. And they almost look like they should be on YouTube, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not. They don't produce any video content, but when you see them on video, they're like, it's super well composed and it's nice. And I'm like, wow, then why won't they take advantage of putting themselves out in the YouTubes doing stuff? And
Mm-hmm.
so then I thought maybe they just don't need it. And then what they're doing is just fine. Like they're a type of business that are probably, I have never seen their books, but I can only guess because of the way they talk to me and the questions that they've asked in the past, is they probably make between 500 to 800K. And then
Okay.
they don't really have like a personal brand just because they can network their own network very well. And he will ask like other people, hey, like I would love to have a conversation. If you have anybody else that you think that I need service, that they need the services that I
Yeah.
offer. So that's how he navigates, and he's very successful
Yeah.
with that. So he doesn't need to go out there and put out this like how people think about personal brand, just like putting
Yeah.
up videos like the Gary's V's. I don't like to always quote Chris, but even just trying to be like Chris. You know what I mean? Hopefully that makes sense and I
No,
answered
that
the
totally
question with
makes
that.
sense. And the thing about it is because I have this thing where I disagree. I don't believe that people are brands. And I know there are people who are way more popular that say, I am my brand. And sweetie, that's fine for you. But that's not what everyone wants. And like, even for me, being the ghetto country grandmother, I may not be the ghetto country grandmother forever, but it is trademarked in a sense that I know that I want to scale it. But there's going to come a time when I walk into a room and no one's going to say, hey, Brandma. They're going to say, there's Phyllis. And so knowing that there's that separation, then I know that I can't get attached to being the brand. Because if I'm being the brand, there has to be something that I can separate from it, that when people want to align with it, that you are able to say, just like grandma, this represents this, and this. And it's because of certain, and I'm so tired I'm about tired of the word values, like I am of authenticity. But there are certain value alignments with other brands when you're talking about collaborating. But the reason I advocate for personal branding is because the thing that I see when I use any type of AI in helping to flesh out ideas, they're always, when it comes to marketing, they're always talking about hiring influencers. And my thing is like, why can't you be an influencer of your own shit? Why do you have to hire someone? Why haven't you learned to talk about your brand well enough in order to be influential? I don't see the necessity in it. Like collaborating with an influencer, maybe, if there's alignment there. But hiring one to say something that you can say just as well yourself, you have to take the time to build your audience just like they had to take the time to build theirs. And so if you're able to build that 10K, 100K, or whatever ever K followers in order to make sure that your voice is heard, you're having this brand awareness. But see, unlike the influencer, you have a product or a service behind yours. Most influencers start off in a way, it's like, I want to be a person of influence. I'm creating content. Oh, but now I'm selling my t-shirt. Like, okay. So,
I know there's got to be a better word for values, and I do agree with that because it's such a like overused word now.
mm-hmm.
So it does make sense. And the one point that I really like that you made is the collaboration piece with like user generated uh content. I
Yeah.
think that's what it's called,
Yeah.
UGS or something like that. Anyways, but you're so right because if you spend some time on TikTok and you're flipping through, you'll find those types of companies that did hire like an influencer, and it just feels cold. You can even tell because our minds, our subconscious minds are very smart. We can just tell like this was just a script that somebody read that probably the marketing director at so and so company gave to this influencer, and they just did it. And it just comes off as cold. And you in the comments, if I don't know if anyone else is like this invested in analyzing marketing strategies that
Yeah.
you'll go into the comments and then you'll see like, did it resonate with the people or didn't? And you can easily tell when the the comments will tell you that, yeah, it did not land well because, yeah, it was just a hire. And they were hoping, and this is what I'm guessing, this is just my analysis now,
Yeah.
that they were going to guess that by having this collaboration, they were going to cross-pollinate the two communities. This is our brand. This is your audience. We're going to see if we can generate some sales.
Yeah.
And they may have done it, but for the longevity, it just didn't sit right with some people. On the
Yeah.
flip side, though, when you do see those types of content, and usually they don't come on your feed as ads, it's usually like a sponsorship, and
Hmm.
then it is a more of a collaboration. Hey, we're gonna send you, let's just say for an example, like this Miniverse. I don't know if you're familiar with Miniverse. I think it's a very
Hmm.
niche type of product. You're familiar with
Okay.
Miniverse?
No, but go ahead. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay, so just in case anyone else doesn't know what Miniverse is, there are these little miniature kits that you can get that can you build that can be like little food or little
Oh,
appliances
I
or
know what you're
anything.
talking
So
about. Yes. Now I know.
okay, now
Yes.
now you do, right?
Yeah.
So what I've seen is like some of those content creators will use their sponsorship and show like, oh, this is what you can get, and it just feels more, I guess, like candid and more of a collaboration. So that's when it works well. So I just wanted to make those points because that's such a good topic to talk
Yeah.
about.
Because I think a lot of times instead of trying to wait for brands to come to you as an influencer, I think you can be a lot more intentional about getting the brands that you want to support because you truly believe it or you truly use it. But instead, like I say, you try and attract the money instead of attracting the brands that you really want to do business with. I'm not loyal to any one bourbon. So if I decide that I'm going to license out and go find somebody to do Brandma's bourbon, I don't care if it's Uncle Nearest, I don't care if it's Jack Daniels with it's whiskey, rye, and all those. I kind of lump them all together, Scotch. But if I it's whoever I decide that, you know what, if it's Four Roses, then I will then become probably more loyal to that brand. My palate is not refined enough for me to say that I like one more than the other. I like brown liquor. So that's how I describe it. But I know the ones, and the reason I not loyal is because Neil is always bringing something different in house. Baby, let's try this. Oh, I like that one. Oh, let's try this. Oh, I like that one. So, but I haven't had my palate is not refined enough to say that I like one more than the other. I can take out the ones I don't like, but if Uncle Nearest or Jack Daniels or Four Roses or some of the other ones came at me and said, you know what, we want to do a Grandma's bourbon, I'm here for it. I got to put all the rest of y'all to rest because this is the one that I'm going to roll with. This is going to be my ride or die from now on. And so I get to attract bourbon companies or brands, but then the one that I choose, that's the one I'm going to be loyal to. But I have to like it. If I don't like it, I'm like, sweetie, I can't do that. I can't do that. Because one of the things I do not fake is my support for certain things. And a lot of times I get asked to, you know what, go like my video, go like my whatever. But it doesn't resonate with me what you're doing. I want to be supportive, but I can't be supportive in that way because that is me. I'm lying. Well, because I know, especially coming from the food industry, people like, go vote for me so I can win this. Why would I vote for you? I don't even eat your food. But they want me to vote. And I used to do it, but I can't do it anymore. I won't make myself do it anymore. I have to find another way to be supported. And even on lives or whatever, people like, come be on my live or come sit in my audience. And I don't, that's not my wheelhouse. If you're talking AI and all that kind of stuff and you have sweetie, I don't know enough about AI or I don't want to know that deeply about AI and chatbots and that I want to come sit in your audience. So it's not shade or anything for me, but I want to support, but I have to find another way to do it. And I want to give you more than a thumbs up and a heart if I'm truly going to be supportive. There are certain things that I share because I think they're amazing. I may not share all of your things, but there are certain things that this is such a valid point. This so resonates with my spirit that I can share it freely and feel good about it Because if somebody comes back and asks me, it's like, who is this? Oh, girl, she talks about this most of the time, but this is what she said in this one. That's what got me. So I actually can have some type of feeling towards it. And that with people talking about personal branding, I see so many people that we mutually know now talking about personal branding. And the only thing that they can say about personal branding is, you know what, you got to be authentic. These are the things to do to be authentic. And it's like I just wrote today, it's like you guys are talking about authenticity, but then you're worried about perception. Make it make sense. Because how you perceive me is not my fucking problem. My authenticity is not dependent on your perception. And I cannot say I'm 100% authentic because Ghetto Country Grandmother is only a small fraction of that. And so when I see people in the pro group and all of that, and they want to move their businesses forward. And a lot of them, they don't have a branding problem. They have an action problem. It's like, sweetie, get off your ass and go do it. But what am I supposed to do? That is for you to decide. And I don't care how much we listen to Chris, how much we listen to Stephanie, Ben, love them all. Listening to you, love you all. But if I don't act on the things that you guys are trying to teach me and tell me and grow me into, then that ain't got shit at all to do with my brand. Nothing.
Introducing Branding Boundaries and Bullshit by the one and only Brandma, Phyllis Williams Strother. Hey, you there. Are you tired of all the boring personal branding stuff? Well, my mom, Brandma, has got you covered with her awesome new book. In this game changer, Brandma doesn't play by the rules. She's a rebel who says you don't have to fake it to make it. No more being a people pleaser, because it's time to get real. Look, my mom's been there, done that, just like Pitbull, except she was a multi-million-dollar restaurant owner. She's got all the stuff to let you know what's real and what's just okie doke. This book isn't for the corporate crazy. It's for the courageous, the genuine, and the unapologetic. It's about putting you first and not some fake customer pleasing it, because this is not the circus. Branding Boundaries and Bullshit is like a fist pump to those who refuse to conform. It's your map to discovering your YO uniqueness and owning it. So ditch the BS and start branding on your own terms. Get Brandma's book now and let your true self shine through.
So quit nodding at me and say something.
Oh, I was just agreeing because the last part that you talked about is about action taking. I think it is so so relevant, and we both see it. I see it too, and so not to defend the non-action taker, but I have seen that the reason why some non-action takers don't take that action is because of a mindset issue that they're going through. And it's very, this is where again, it's the words I can't figure out right now because I'm not that fast
No,
of a
go ahead,
thinker.
sweetie.
But that for me is so heartbreaking to see. Because if they were just to become their own cheerleader in their own head, they would thrive and just to take the action. Instead, they dwell on those things like, if I were to take this action and they start to do like all these what ifs and stuff like that, it's like, well, you don't even know. Like that's like the worst thing you could do for yourself. And I don't actually say this to the person, right? But this is
Yeah.
like me processing this thinking that they're having. They're like, if I only had these things, I could take the action on that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you actually, in my head, I'm like, you don't actually need those things. You just need to apply it and just see how it goes. It's like one of those things that people always say, do it scared or
Yeah. Good.
start something when you're not 100% ready. And, and I think you already have kind of talked about this when we were talking with my stuff, but
Yeah.
that's what I've seen. So sometimes those kind of the non-action takers, they have something that they're going through, and it's those kind of things are a little bit tricky. But then you got people like you or some other people that I have seen, they within like a couple minutes or even a couple hours after a pro call, office hours, whatever, they're like, hey, guess what I just did? I did the thing that
Yeah.
Richard Moore told me to do. You know the thing that Chris said? I did it, and it actually worked. And I'm like, yes, that's amazing. Please share those stories. Some people don't like sharing those stories because like, oh, it feels um too braggy. But I'm like, we have a brag board in pro for that reason, to share some of those things. Because I told them, because they're like, depending on where you are in the world, it's, I would say some of the Europeans struggle with
Yeah.
this a lot, with sharing
Yeah.
some of their wins.
Yes.
Is that once someone reads that and they can actually see themselves in your position because of where you are in your business or how you are, how you show up, whatever the case is, and it resonates with them, you might actually inspire that person to finally take action.
Yeah.
And that's what I
Yeah.
always tell people. But anyways, now I'm talking too much.
You're not. You
What
are
do you think
so
about that?
not.
What do you think about
You probably don't talk enough.
Oh,
But the hard part of personal branding that I see is that, like I said, I think too many people make it personal. And that is why they have a hard time being their own cheerleader. And I come at it from a perspective, yes, I want you to have brand ego, but that's not your personal ego. And it's that level of courage and confidence you have from knowing that you can do a job really well. I saw someone
yeah.
posting, who is it? Matt. It was a clip on Matt's LinkedIn, and the woman was saying she struggled with pricing. And then she said it was because people kept telling me I should charge more, but I didn't feel confident enough to charge more. But I had to do it gradually. And it's like you can't push yourself into something. Some people can. They will jump off a cliff without a net, without a parachute, and all that kind of thing, but they will still land on their feet. Some people have that ability. But if you know you don't have that ability, then how are you going to show up with this thing? And if you don't get the experience, one of the things I had to do when I still had a job, before we got into our first business, before I got into business with my husband, the experience that I had in running an office, running a business, and all of that kind of stuff with more than just me, sweetie, I had to go and find those kind of jobs. I was working a full-time job, a part-time job, going to school in 3 and 4 different places and all of that kind of stuff. But I had to go run somebody else's job because my job wouldn't give me the responsibility. They didn't trust me with the responsibility. And because I was a smart ass, they were probably right. But I still found ways. It's like, you know what, let me go volunteer over here. One of the reasons I can speak in front of an audience, I actually started getting up in church first. It's like, let me get up and go say something. Let me get up and go say something. It would always scare my mama. Ooh, Lord, what's she gonna stay in church today? But that's how I'm able to get in front of an audience, because the scariest people actually for me to get in front of and do my thing are people that I know. I can do it in front of strangers all day because I'm not going to see you anymore, probably. But getting in front of people that know you well and knew you when you were in your stupid shit, that's the hard crowd to get in front of and have them see you differently. They always see you as that fucked up cousin, that crazy sister, the mean so and so. And while I still may be all of those things, in my business, I am not those things. I own that I'm selfish, that I'm mean, that I'm a procrastinator. All in my business, I am not those things, because I see my business differently than I see how I live my life. I should be able to be comfortable in my life, but I also need to be comfortable and confident in my business. So I treat them differently. Where I can fall down in the snow. I was just laughing in my first snow experience in Oregon. I fell on my ass and I said I had to wait for Neil to bring the crane to get me off because I kept sliding down the driveway. Oh my God, whole ass mess. That's a
Whoa.
life experience. But if I were to go to somewhere that snow is on the ground, I still have to step into that snow confidently. I can't worry about the last time that I fell and could not get up under my own power. If I have to cross this yard in order to go speak at this engagement or to go to this conference or to even go to a meeting, sweetie, I still got to walk across the snow. I can't let my personal experience interfere with me getting the job done. And so when you look at how you approach your business versus how you approach how you live, sweetie, you can have all the fuck ups in life that you want. You can. You can even have a few in your business. But the ones that you have in your business, you're supposed to learn from. And you're supposed to learn how to navigate better, because you are expecting people to pay you a whole lot of money for some magical unicorn result type shit. And if you can't deliver that magic, then you feel some kind of way. I own the fact that when I did my first strategic branding job, I gave my client what she wanted. I gave her what she asked for. I did not give her what she wanted. I own that. And so when we're out here and we're doing certain things, now mind you, back then my prices was really cheap. And I still, well, cheap by my standards, but and I still feel some kind of way about it. I feel like I did not give her her money's worth. So when I go and I do it now, and why I work long term with people, sweetie, I want to make sure you get all of this. Because the thing about it is, if I give you a brand strategy and you cannot go out and activate it, then we're not done. So I have to make sure that you can do all of these things. Well, you gave me this. What am I supposed to do with it? A lot of people don't know what to do with a brand strategy. Now we have to turn this into content. We have to turn this into pricing. We have to turn this into sales. We have to turn this into marketing. All of those are actions that you have to take from the brand strategy that you created. So telling somebody you need a strategic brand, but you don't know how to tell them to activate that. Okay, what does this mean for my content? It means this. What does this mean for my marketing? It means this. What does this mean for my pricing? And then knowing that pricing is tied to marketing as well. Then it's all tied to positioning. Sweetie, all of this comes from having a strategic brand first. And a lot of people don't know that. Hell, I think when I helped her, I didn't fully know it, but I know it now. And even the storytelling piece. A lot of people want to jump on storytelling as if that's the magic answer. Storytelling is still tied to
Oh yeah.
pricing, still tied to marketing, still tied to brand. There's all these different things that you need to know. But my thing that I tell my clients, sweetie, I want you to know it well enough so that you can pay somebody else to go do it and take it off your plate. Once you understand your brand fully and how you want it, now go hire a brand manager. Now that you understand how your brand falls into marketing, go hire a marketing manager. Take that shit off your plate. You know your brand voice, the cadence, the whatever. It's to know all of these things to get it off your plate. You know how your content is supposed to work. Understanding that and then say, you know what, I need a content creator. I need a content producer. Do you know the difference? Because I made a difference in mine. So it's all of these different pieces that you have to take care of as the brand leader so that you can go out and continue to be influential in all the people that you attract and send them back to the business. And that was a long ass sermon that I did not mean to give.
I'm sure someone that is watching this in the future, not right now, there's going to be value for them for sure. And I think it was a good sermon, if you want to call it that. And I also I learned a lot because the last part that you're mentioning and I love this is because it had to do with delegation. Like once you understand how all these pieces work, then you're able to hire those people so you can get it off your plate or start delegating and to move the business in a certain direction of however you want to do that. And I think that's an incredible takeaway for someone out there that's maybe on the cusp of that or whatever position they're in that they can apply that. So I think it was good. So that's just me always trying to take some of the positives and just make sure that it's visible. You know what I mean?
Now tell me this with between personal branding and business branding, which do you think is more important? Just your own
Oh my
personal
goodness.
opinion.
That so I think that it really depends on the person, right? So like we were talking about, there's some businesses out there that they don't really need a personal brand, but then there's the opposite of that, right? So it really depends on the person. I can't really say that, but in my own personal opinion, I would say definitely a little bit is lean towards personal branding. And the reason why is because it's how you're presenting yourself to the world and how you're being perceived and all that kind of stuff. I still think there's value in that. It's just like with branding, when you're in a grocery store, you can easily identify like what the products are based on how they look, right? And that kind of stuff. So I feel like that's like just like a level one to that, but it also will attract certain people. It's like how and I wish I could remember who said this. It's like the type of level of content that you produce and you put out in the world is what you're going to get back. Like those types of people, if they're at a certain level, you're going to get those certain levels depending on the content that you produce.
Mhm.
So it makes a lot of sense. So I'm leaning more towards personal branding a little bit here. Just because business branding can be, it's very, for me, it's very tricky. When you look at some of the businesses out there that have a really good brand, and I'm talking about like the Adidas, the
Mhm.
Nikes, and I hate showing saying all the
Yeah,
prime examples like
yeah,
that. That they can survive without having like a true like spokesperson kind of
yeah,
thing, because there's so many moving pieces to that. Like you can just put up an Apple ad and it doesn't even have like Tim Cook or Steve Jobs in it, and it'll still do well, or at
yeah,
least well in how we perceive it. Just
yeah.
like I don't know, like the Vision Pro thing that's out right now, like it's like, they just did a promo video of that, and the ads didn't have, I don't think, Tim Cook in it, and people still buy it and
They
they're
still buy
using it,
it
and it's just,
because they're
yeah.
loyal to Apple. And there are certain things that I am loyal to, like my Mac computers here, my iPhones here, my iPads here. All of that stuff is Apple. I don't need the whole vision thing. I don't care about that. I don't have an Apple Watch because I'm sorry, I have enough notifications without having one on my arm. That's pushing me into Jetson territory, and I don't want to go. But what do you think the future holds for you as far as like, do you plan out far, especially as someone who journals? Do you plan out far? Do you think that you'll ever take the leap into entrepreneurship, or you're just gonna, like I say, play it by ear?
Uh, Definitely going to be being proactive and applying certain things that I can. Just because we both know this. Some of the things that are taught in pro can be more geared towards that people have of a team of +5. So that's
Mhm.
always very tricky. And you have to be smart enough to know the difference between what could be applied to you as a solopreneur versus somebody with a team. You kind of have to you have to know like self-awareness when it comes to that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you go into that mindset, it's like, oh, well, I need all these kind of things, and then I just never take action on anything. So part of me is like that too. So I will be transparent with everyone. Like I do
Yeah,
have that mindset issue at times. And Phyllis knows that about me,
I
and I'm glad
do.
you don't call me out
I do.
call me out on that. Um, but I think for me, it's definitely to start it as like a side hustle, which I don't know, some people may not like this, but I like it. Just to be able to test the market with little chunks. And I guess
Yeah.
from what I got from the feedback with Phyllis is that it can't just test something within a couple of weeks. It has to be, I have to show up a little bit more for me to generate, see if that interest is really there.
Yeah.
So I think that's what the game plan is definitely going to be testing the market a little bit, and then just being able to do it for a long time and try to take out the personal out of it. Meaning that if I don't get a lot of hits or whatever the metric is, that I just won't discount it right away. That I just
Yeah.
got to show up. Because I think the idea that Phyllis presented to me, everyone that's listening to this, is that being able to do YouTube videos to talk about stationary items and show the people how you can be able to take notes into your journal, or just a journal while you're out there, because I think journaling is a very critical it's my opinion, very critical skill to have if you want to stay creative and you want to stay and be able to hold and retain information that you've gathered in your daily life or when you're studying, because I think we all should be all have that mindset of being a forever student, but
Yeah.
with the caveat of be a forever student that applies the knowledge. Otherwise, when you just have a notebook filled with these amazing ideas and all these insights, and you don't share or talk to it about with anyone, you're doing a disservice to yourself and to potentially others. Because like Phyllis has loves to point this out, not even with just me, but with other people out there, is that you just have this amazing amount of information, and you as a person has all these amazing insights and the way that you do things that could provide a value for someone or even just inspire someone, which is also something I think that is maybe a little bit underrated, inspire people. As I don't think no one really talks about that unless they do, and then I'm wrong here. But
No, like I said,
that's
but
that's what I
the
want to
thing
say.
is, you're not looking for it right now, so that's why you don't know. It's just like buying a red Corvette. You don't see one, but I promise you, if you go out and buy one, you're gonna see them everywhere. We
Yeah,
we don't look
exactly.
for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
But
even just oh yeah, go ahead, go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. The last thing I want to say about journaling and why I get so excited about it is that it's still in the world, in the physical world, like our physical world. When you go to, typing on something digital, I don't know, I think something gets lost in that, and I don't know what
Lost
exactly
in
what that is, but I
translation.
love when something hits your brain, whatever that is, when you're watching a YouTube video, watching maybe a pro call, whatever it is, or something that you're a part of, you're just watching something, and you document it from your brain to your hand to a piece of paper. I think that holds something that can't be replicated with our digital tools. So that's another reason why I prefer journaling. And some of my favorite people of all time, Marcus Aurelius, did keep a journal.
Yeah.
And he had this special journal and that wasn't supposed to be published, but somebody had found it and published it anyways. And it was all his thoughts that he had. And I forget what the book's called, but and see, like even back then, like way back Renaissance time, like people still value journaling. I think even I think it's Da Vinci. I think so, don't
Hmm.
quote me on this, everyone. But I think even he had a journal that he would carry around with him as well. So all these people that we talk about in modern days with Socratic type of ideas, asking questions, those people that had originally made those kind of concepts were carrying around journals all the time. And I think there's so much value in that. So that's why I truly love this stuff. I can talk about this stuff all day long. So
See,
to quick, yeah. So to recap, like this is something I know I could just like hop onto YouTube and like, hey, this is one way you can get started with journaling or something like that.
yeah, and so y'all know another thing I told Andres to do, and he don't listen to me. He hears me, he doesn't listen to me. But I told him, I said he needs to write a book on how to manage the future, a
Yes.
community manager's guide to something, because there is a lot of good crazy that goes through the future. And there's so much talent and so much eclectic, oh, so much, what's the word I'm trying? Culturally eclectic thinking. I put it like that because we come across so many different cultures. And I know Chris has changed times on how we do stuff because who's on the other side of the world can't be up when everybody else is up on this side of the world. And to look at all like is it Germany and Serbia and the UK, and there's all this wealth of culture and heritage within the pro group that we get to be a part of. And I love that because I don't think enough of that, and it's another thing that I love about personal branding, but I don't think enough heritage is put into certain things. We think the Western world is the end all be all. Yes, I'm an American, but it does not begin and end here. Sweetie, if you're doing something in business, how you do business on the other side of the world is different than how we do business here versus how they do business there. And so if you teach us, you make it like, you know what, this is one of the things I want to hold on to. Now, if you're trying to cut it loose, then cut it loose, but let it be a personal choice. Don't sit here and think that, oh, well, I have to westernize everything in order to be successful. I have to westernize my personal brand in order to be successful. No, you have to figure out what's right for you, what's going to work for you, what's going to get you paid based on your terms. So it's a thing. And like I said, having Andres write the book based on such a wealth of research within the community, I think would be such a bestseller. Managing the future. That's the name of the book in my head. So
Wow. That's really good. I like that.
and then having a journal with it because people are constantly trying to build communities. And while I know a big draw of the future is Chris, but a big part of managing the future is you because we all run to you.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, people do. Yeah, that's right. I've heard it all at this point. I've heard it all. I
Yes.
think maybe someone will surprise me every once in a while, but you're so right. And a
Mhm.
part of it, everyone, I'll admit it here. Some of the reasons why that I haven't really taken action on the book that Phyllis has told me to write is because I have a fear of that it's just not going to be good enough. No one's going to like it. But I know that's something I know it's not true. Phyllis tells me all the time. So I just need to take action on this.
Yeah.
And the funny enough is that I know you don't talk, we don't you don't really go into the AI type of world, but I'm going to tell you a quick story that I had that's going to help me with this project. So
Okay.
hopefully in the future, this future community book will happen. I have this and ChatGPT, I created a prompt where it will prompt me and ask me questions on how I manage community. So what I've been doing is every single, I want to say, so I'm exaggerating here, every single day, so not every single day, I would say maybe every other day, I will hop into ChatGPT and go into this conversation, and I'll answer the question ChatGPT asked me. So for an example, 2 days ago, it asked me, how do you handle conflict in an online community? Something along those lines. So I'm like, oh my goodness, dang AI asked a damn good question. And I'm like, I can't answer this right now. This is gonna take me a little bit longer to really give a good answer on this. So a day goes by and I'm, sipping an adult beverage. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna answer this question now. And so what I had come up with was like, okay, a couple things that I've noticed is that obviously if it's in a Zoom environment, because the question is a little bit too broad. If it's a Zoom environment, then moderator needs to be able to help with that conflict. Whether is that it's like, hey, we come back to this question, this thing that you asked, because it might be disrupting the conversation that we have. And there's been times, I don't know if you've ever been on calls when I've had to do that, Phyllis, but there's been times where I've had to interrupt a person, a member, and we had to move the conversation on because it's creating too much conflicts. They're starting to become argumentative at this time, and this is not a good feeling to be on an online community and to feel like, oh my goodness, why are they fighting? This is crazy. And so, and again, everyone, I'm exaggerating a little bit just for the storytelling part of it. So that's how I answered it. It's like, well, there needs to be some moderation, and also make sure that on the onboarding for a community, that there needs to be either a code of conduct or values that we hold in this environment. So that means being inclusive and talking about and how you message people, like be professional and don't try to, send inappropriate things and stuff like that. So that way, if when it does happen, then we can reference back to the code of conduct or the values of the community and say like, hey, this was part of it, you violated. And you can give them either a warning at that point or you eliminate the person from the community. And
Wow.
Phyllis knows that,
Yeah.
this is what I mean. I've seen it all at this point that
Yeah.
yes, that does happen. If you grow your community big enough, you're going to run into these things. It's inevitable. There's always going to be at least, I would say, one person per year that if your community is big enough, then you might have to enforce those types of rules. But that's why you hold them in place. So this is the type of things that I probably would talk about in the book. And I wouldn't say I'm taking action every single day, Phyllis, but the book is in the works. It's just very slow at the moment.
You know what? And the thing about it is, what I personally, because I know how you journal and all that kind of stuff, I would say the book is already written. It's just not put together because of all of the different notes and journaling that you've done over time. The book is already done. You just have to put it together like a book, or format it in the type of book that you would want to see out there with your name on it. And the thing that I told you originally is that you are personally connected to Chris, and to have that level of endorsement would damn near guarantee it as a bestseller. And I don't think you're doing it for bestseller status, but it gives you the opportunity to capitalize on the proximity to Chris. And I don't want to say that in a manipulative or usury way, but Chris hired you for a reason. So for him to hire you and to keep you all of these years that I've been a part of the community means that he would probably see a lot of validity in it, and he could probably even help you edit it. I wouldn't let him edit it to the point of like, take that out, it makes us look bad. No, you can't do that. This is part of the truth of my book, not the future. But I still think that there's something there. And because I'm strongly believe in what Chris is trying to build as far as an educational community. And like I said, I think the biggest fallback is that people aren't taking action on it. And it's not that they don't want to, it's just too many people are afraid. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of messing up. Sweetie, you're gonna mess up. You're gonna mess up. Because that, believe it or not, the growth comes from the mess up. It comes from the time you fell down and you've learned your lesson. It's like, okay, I'm not gonna do that again. But then I'm afraid that people saw me. Yeah, they saw you. They saw you. They saw you, so you own it. It's like, you know what, last time I tried this, it ended badly. So I'm trying it again, and we're going to see what happens. You just own it and you move on. You don't have to try and hide from shit. So that's my thing. All right, I'm gonna ask you this one last question. We're gonna wrap it up because I didn't even realize we were over by that much.
That's okay.
What is the biggest lesson that you have gotten about branding from the Future Pro Group? And I don't care how you want to tackle that question, but just on your own terms, what have you learned about branding, personal, business, or otherwise?
The Let me just look at the question again. The biggest lesson I learned from branding, and that could be personal branding or the company branding.
Yes. Yes.
Dang, this is a good question. Oh my goodness. Um, so for me, it's for personal branding. I would say it's something I already had mentioned a little bit earlier, but it's how you show up on the social platforms, and that needs to be consistent enough. And this is why I think it's so relevant to me as well, because I'm not that consistent. It needs to be consistent enough that people will start to be excited for when you do speak. So that it has to be enough that when you're on a story or on a post, like people are getting excited for you, and it's lining up to some of the things that you are an expert in, or that you have such an enormous amount of experience in. So I would say that's probably the biggest lesson, because I've seen people that do like a sprint of this, a version of this. They'll go like 2 weeks really hard, and they're going every day, and they're presenting themselves on their stories, and they're posting, and then for whatever reason, Phyllis,
Yeah, well,
they drop off and you don't see them again for a really long time. And so that for that, I would say that for somebody that wants to be consistent with their personal branding and make sure that they show up, is to make sure that you also don't burn yourself out. So maybe spread some things out. And that way you can be present for some of the people that are excited for you. Because I've seen it so many times. I can't tell you how many times I've seen this with some of the pro members, is
yeah.
that they'll do that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, where did you go? What happened to this person? Did they, it becomes a mystery at that point for me. But me being the nosy person that I am and wanting to check up on people, I'll go to their socials, or even I'll reach out to them like, hey, what's going on? I haven't seen you in a while. What have you been up to? And sometimes they'll even tell me those stories where like, yeah, I was trying this then, and I did it for so long, and then I just I just didn't want to do it anymore. I'm like, oh dang. That's so there's something there. And I'm sure Phyllis is probably thinking, okay, we could go on a deep dive right there.
I'm
'Cause
gonna
I
let it
know
go. I'm
Phyllis
gonna
has
let it
some
go.
I know Phyllis has a lot to say, but I think that's my biggest lesson, is that if you want to have a personal brand, yes, you need to be consistent, but consistent enough that it doesn't hurt you. That's like the biggest takeaway that I've seen. So even for some people like Chris, because we're so in contact, like he will tell me how his day goes, like from the moment he wakes up to the moment he goes to sleep. Like he's always doing something. And
Mhm.
and the reason why he's always doing something on social media is because it just brings him that much level of joy too.
Yeah,
So you also have to enjoy this as well. If personal branding and showing up for you, for people online, doesn't excite you, that's a sign. And that's
yeah,
probably a good sign to know ahead of time, because just like how Phyllis was talking about in the beginning, is that some people actually don't need a personal brand, or to the ones that we're talking about.
yeah.
And yes, the other thing too, another takeaway is be do your due diligence when you're listening to people or reading people's content on personal branding,
Yes.
because some of those people are copycats. And when
Yes.
you encounter copycat accounts, they might be able to woo you in the beginning, but just do your due diligence on that as
Yeah.
well. Because just like Phyllis knows this, because Phyllis probably has seen some of those copycat accounts, and you're just like, oh my goodness, they just ripped off so and so and then just played it off as their own. So
Mhm.
that's another thing too. Okay. I hope that answered the question, Phyllis. If I didn't,
It did, sweetie, it did. And like I said, because I think you are amazing at what you do within the community and keeping us all together and making sure we have all the answers that we need. And yes, and on occasion enabling us by giving us the answers and so forth. But it's like I said, you have a very unique perspective because you are privy to so many businesses, small or otherwise. And the thing about the pro group, just so you guys know, it is not all creatives. I know there are some doctors in there are some therapists in there. I just happen to do personal branding, but I am not what I don't consider myself in the same genre of creativity as most of the people that are in there. And it's having access to that has broadened my mind and how I see visual branding versus strategic branding or even running my own business. So it's worth joining if you need that support. But like I said, the biggest thing that you're going to have to do is if you join is you're going to have to take action. And this is not a pro group commercial, but it is something of value. It's something that I found value in. And like I said, I'm just putting it out there. I ain't getting paid for it or nothing else. But Andres, do you want anybody to follow you anywhere unless without having to join the pro group? Do you want people to follow you? Do you care?
yeah, so I would love to connect more people on LinkedIn. So I can share my LinkedIn link with you after this, and then we could put that in the description. Because that's
You got it.
personally for me, that's the place that brings me the most joy. And I love watching your content on there. It's easier for me to find because when I interact with your content, Phyllis, like the algorithm knows, it will just give it to me.
Yeah.
Whereas more of, I don't know, Instagram, sometimes it's a hit or miss there. Like some I've tried training that algorithm to give me the content I want, and sometimes it just it fails me. So I'm just gonna put it out there. Instagram doesn't always give me the best results for the things that I want to see, and I don't know why. I don't know if I'm training it wrong, but for LinkedIn, I find it way better. And anyway,
Yeah.
so long story
And if
short,
you're looking for him on
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, it's Andres Ramirez.
That's right.
Andres, Andres. So you can find him on LinkedIn and connect or follow. And like I said, I think he's an amazing artist, and I think he should be a journaling guru, but that's just my own opinion. Okay, but y'all know I got shit to do. So 5, bullshit happens, so suck it up. 4, your voice is important, so speak up. 3, you make the world a more beautiful place, so show up. 2, life is good, so buck up. And 1, I love you and ain't a damn thing you can do about it, so shut the fuck up. Peace and hair grease, y'all. I'm out.
All right, brand babies. We appreciate you stopping by because we know you got shit to do. Just remember to subscribe on your way out and bring a friend next time. In the meantime, and in between time, stay connected with your grandmother on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The links are in the description. And your grandmother wants you to remember that personal branding is not just personal, it's also business.